a tune-up title eliminator title match, or tune-up title match.
I have no message for the man.
What's going on, you guys? So it's being reported that Errol Spence Jr. and Keith One-Time Thurman will be fighting December 17th in Dallas, Texas, AT&T Stadium. Keith Thurman predicted this will happen, and Errol Spence Jr., after being so dismissive of Keith One-Time Thurman, he didn't really want to seem to give Keith One-Time Thurman a shot after years of Keith One-Time Thurman high-siding on Errol Spence Jr. Now Errol Spence Jr. said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and fight Keith One-Time Thurman. I'm going to give the people a good fight to close out this year. Right? After being very dismissive of the fight. But Keith One-Time Thurman, we haven't seen him since his fight with Mario Barrios. And now he's going to be 34 years old once he get in the ring with Errol Spence. Is Keith Thurman still the Keith Thurman that could have gave Errol Spence trouble years ago? We're talking about this matchup quite a bit leading up to this matchup. Potential matchup. I mean, this is just alleged, right? We heard that the WBC stepped in line, right? You know, we heard standing on the suspense. You know, Boots Ennis put in his word for him to get his shot from the IBF. Of course, they haven't had a mandatory in 4 years, but the WBC bulldogged and bullied their way through the other sanctioned bodies. And now it's being alleged that they saying that Keith One-Time Thurman is getting his shot. And they probably likely doing this because for obvious reasons, folks. You know, the young guns, they gonna be around, right? Keith One-Time Thurman, he ain't gonna be around. This is a pretty big fight. This is the next big fight for Spence, in my opinion, outside of a Terrence Crawford at welterweight. Has a story behind it. They got history. They could use a lot of the talk over the years to really build and sell the fight. But it's one would say it will be slight short notice for Keith Thurman. Have Keith Thurman been training? You know how Keith Thurman is. He always needs his tune-ups. He always needs to get back, right? But there ain't no tune-ups and there ain't no getting back when we got a fight coming up December 17th, Jack, right? We there's no tune-ups for Keith now. We seen Errol Spence training, right? We seen footage of Errol Spence training, so clearly Errol Spence been working behind the scenes. Fight's gonna be on pay-per-view. We already know. Price $70-something. I'm gonna buy the pay-per-view. Just to put that out there right now. I'm gonna go ahead and buy the pay-per-view. I mean, why not, right? Like, you know, it's not nothing personal or nothing like that. We just be talking this boxing shit, right? I'm gonna support the brothers. They put on a show for the fans at the end of the year. I'm also buy Crawford's fight as well and support what he's doing over there with Black Prime and everything that's going on over there. So, yeah, that's where your boy Bushido's on. But Keith One-Time Thurman, Errol Spence, the actual matchup, we're going to really be talking about it for the weeks to come if this thing comes to fruition. This is what has been reported. I mean, it's really the only thing that really makes sense for Errol Spence. I mean, Jerron Boots Ennis, standing on this, nobody wants to see that. The fight with Keith Thurman, you can put it on pay-per-view. Keith Thurman is one of the big names in the division. He only lost against Manny Pacquiao. He was former champion, etc., blah, 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 right? So this fight makes sense for Spence. And I would like to see it happen, right? I don't want to see no Spence fans talking about, oh, Keith Thurman don't deserve a shot. Yeah, Keith Thurman don't deserve a shot. This is what you guys were saying for months. But what if Spence decides to fight him? Then would you go say, oh, yeah, we go whip. We all been want that work. You know, nah, bro. Nah, I'm just bullshitting. But yeah, it should be a good fight, man. It should be a really good fight. I like the matchup. Both guys been off for quite a bit, man. A lot of inactivity from both guys. So I think it's even Steven when we're looking at that aspect of the fight. But will Errol Spence comfortably be able to make weight? Will Errol Spence be able to deal with Keith Thurman's foot speed? Keith Thurman is a fleet-footed fighter. He throws awkward punches from awkward angles. He hits hard. And he can move while punching for a full 12 rounds no matter how long he's been off. Right? Keith Thurman has an engine on him. As far as his legs, he got good legs. And when he gets hurt in fights, he knows how to survive, right? You know, he's weak to the body. He's notoriously known for having a weak body, right? This is where everybody say he got a weak bread basket. And if Errol Spence was to blast that bread basket, what happens? It's Keith Thurman. He knows how to survive. He takes that mouthpiece out and he runs around the ring and he knows how to survive. He gets hurt, he gets wobbled, he gets stunned. He knows how to recover and survive. So it's going to be interesting to see if Errol Spence can land something on a fleet-footed Keith Thurman, who's going to be throwing punches from all angles. One thing I noticed about Keith Thurman, though, in the more recent fights, I haven't seen much of a jab from Keith Thurman, right? I haven't seen much of a jab from him. I think he's going to really have to use that against Spence. Errol Spence, he's going to be coming. In the matchup with Keith Thurman, we're going to really be talking about this. But Spence is going to be coming. He's going to be popping that jab at him. He's going to do what Spence does. We know what Spence is going to do, right? But stylistically, I think it's one of the more interesting matchups. He's a crafty guy, Keith Thurman. He's the guy after Crawford that I feel is crafty. So it's going to be interesting to see if Spence could deal with a fleet-footed fighter. We haven't necessarily seen Spence in there with a guy that can move. A fleet-footed guy that can really move, that can really punch, and it can really maybe make some things really interesting for Spence. So, yeah, it should be a really good fight. This leaves Crawford with his situation with Averizian. I think the Spence fight with Thurman, it's a no-brainer. It's obviously a much bigger fight, much better fight, much more interesting fight, much more meaningful fight. The fight with Averizian is more of a, they're not doing what they want to do for me. So I'm going to go ahead, in the meantime, I'm going to get this $10 million payday, and then we go meet in 2023. Errol Spence said that Crawford fight is still on the table, so fans can stop crying about that. So, yeah, boxing, we get to see Spence and Crawford fight in this year. I expect Terrence Crawford to look phenomenal in this fight. I'm going to be grading my boy strictly in this fight. I'm not going to be, just because he's, since you're fighting Averizian, I expect you to look spectacular and flawless, right? For Errol Spence and Thurman, well, we could expect that fight to be a little more competitive. A lot of guys may think Keith Thurman is going to win. The Keith Thurman fans going to resurge and come back out in the forefront with their bayonets ready and shit. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with the fan bases. But yeah, man, really interesting news. We're going to see if it happens, man. I think Spence, if this is the reported news, I think this fight should happen. I think it's a fight that makes sense for Spence. Like, subscribe, holla at your boy. Peace out.